I used to have a kitchen and bathroom renovation company, and this thing grew wildly fast from scratch with no marketing. I got into the business because my previous employer told me that I was useless and couldn't talk to people and was shit. And it wasn't like I left to start my own thing. I left because I couldn't tolerate being treated like shit anymore. And it was a few weeks later that I ended up deciding out of the blue to post that ad in the local paper. And that was the start of my first business. This thing grew to a few $1 million in turnover relatively quickly with no ad spend. And I'll never forget, I was sitting there one night, it was like 11:30 at night, and I was in front of my computer, in front of my CAD software, making all adjustments to a client's kitchen to be ready to be pushed out to, we had like a computerized CNC cutting machine. You'd load the boards on, this thing would go and cut it all, drill the holes, do everything proper. I'll never forget sitting there going like, why the hell am I doing this? Like all my staff are at home. I'm not paying myself much money. And here I am stuck, nearly midnight doing this. And that was one in a long line of kitchens to be done. And this whole entire job fell on me. I've managed to get myself out of building the kitchens, installing the kitchens, even ordering the parts. But this one job, I was still doing it. And the crazy thing was, Miranda, is that my local competitors, people in the industry, the owner of this company wasn't doing this job. They were selling, they were designing, they were stuck in other areas, but they were not sitting in front of the computer doing that aspect. And so I knew consciously it was actually possible to hire someone to do this job. Yet for some reason, something inside of me stopped me from doing that. I didn't believe it was possible for me, or I didn't know how. And the reason that I share this story is because what happens is we as entrepreneurs, we create identities unconsciously around who we are. We have identities that I'm a father, I'm a partner, I was an amazing football player, I used to have a six-pack, I used to be a great surfer. I am the only one that can do this in my business. Now, most of the time they're unconscious. If they're conscious, congratulations. That's part of you that's wanting you to shift that part inside of you. Yet it's aspects of our belief and the way that we see ourselves that stop us from doing that, because it's the fear of the unknown. It's why we stay in shitty relationships, with partners who cheat on us or are unfaithful or don't look after us well, because what we know is what we've already got. What we don't know is what we haven't got. What I didn't know is, what if I hired someone and they stuffed jobs up and it cost me a heap of money that I couldn't afford in materials that were done wrong? What if I hired someone, they weren't as good as me? But that's the same thing that stopped me and so many others from exiting their business or exiting roles in their business. The fear of like, what if my staff gets it wrong? I even had history of staff getting things wrong that was like, well, they got that thing wrong and they got that thing wrong and they got that thing wrong. But the reality is right now, just ask yourself the question, the biggest thing that you're struggling with in business right now, maybe it's getting sales, maybe it's closing deals, maybe it's hiring great staff, maybe it's getting off the tools. Just ask yourself the question, is there somebody else that I know that is not currently doing this role with success? Is there somebody else in my industry that is no longer stuck doing quotes or sales or stuck laying bricks or pouring concrete or whatever it is your biggest challenge is? It might even be your relationship. Is there somebody that has an amazing relationship with their partner right now where like every night you get home and you and your partner blow up in a fight, right? And the answer to that question is yes, whether you know them firsthand or not. And that right there is the small little crack that we can start to work at to open up this whole new world into who you are and how you see yourself.
Yeah, it's like that's the evidence that it is possible for the current problem or challenge that you may be facing, that it cannot exist, so that your current problem could be a not problem. So that's the first step to changing anything, is awareness that it is possible that it could be another way. And often there's a whole lot within the entrepreneurial mind to unpack and explore even at that step. Yet it's worth noticing and circling back. It's such a great story you share, and I know so many will be resonating with that in some way, Barry. And I know I've seen it in other clients as well, versions of it. It's, hang on, I've now got X number of hours per week. I'm kind of feeling frustrated. I'm wondering if I've made the right choice. I'm feeling unmotivated. I'm all of these things. And what I often notice is that it's the sense for adventure and challenge, which is often core to the drive and the energy and the identity of the entrepreneurial mind, that is often searching for something. I've even known someone go back and break something to try and create adventure.
It's an identity crisis.
Yeah.
Right. It's an identity crisis. Now you can probably tell, like, I'm super passionate about this because this is this is what really gets me going, is the psychology of success in business. Like the systems and processes, believe it or not, that's relatively easy. You can set those things up, but unless you shift the psychology of how you show up in the world, how you see yourself and how you see your business, you will never create a business that is beyond your dreams, or a life for that matter. Because right now, everything that we have is a direct reflection of your internal psychology, of your internal value structure, of your internal beliefs, and of who you believe you are and what you believe you're worthy of at the core, right? And the reason that I left this to the last chapter of my book, The Path to Freedom, is because every single chapter actually had psychological shifts built into the chapter, consciously and unconsciously, to help the people reading it start to shift before you got to the end, which is like, this is actually really what's fucking going on, right? And this is the number one thing that you need to address before anything else, is your identity, is your beliefs, what you believe is possible, what you believe is not possible.